I think that's.
No. Right.
I know. You don't. You know.
Oh, never mind.
Just kidding.
What's that?
Me too.
Maybe we should sit. I'll have to start sitting there. Then we'll look normal on the screen.
Exactly.
According to that, it's 3:00.
On my face. I'll stay out there. Oh my gosh, yeah.
There, it's right.
Now it's right. Orientation. Dave left to fix it.
Now we're back though. Like backwards.
He's fine.
She's watching, you know. James is working his magic. Yeah, I guess you don't need this.
This usually.
That's where your sounds. This one's on YouTube.
And then you put them in the big hole. We got a little bit.
So I was like.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
I hope.
When we have to vote. One of those whole 9 months, I just shut up, really get it for a while. Yeah.
No, you have to. No, you have to dial in.
The third Tuesday would be.
On.
That would be. No, of July.
Oh, we're not moving land use that far.
We both had the same CD when we went to, same 3D when we went
The ones I like the best.
But you've been doing that, right? You've never been up to these meetings?
She's still in there. I tried to cannibalize one of these and use it.
Good morning. Welcome to Land Use and Information Committee meeting, June 6th, 2023. Call the meeting to order. Notice has been posted in accordance with Wisconsin statute 19.84.
This conference line is for public speaking. You will be muted upon entry, and we will unmute your microphone when you are called upon for public comment. You will be able to hear the entire meeting while you are on the call. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, are there any general public comments? We have a 3-minute time limit. Are there any general public comments? If you wish to make comments or something on the agenda, you can take care of it at the time when it's up on the agenda. No public comments, approval of the agenda order.
Absolutely. I take a motion.
Second. Second by Mr. Anderson, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Approval of the minutes of the May 2nd, 2023 meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Motion by Mr. Blumberg, second. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. This time we'll start with the public hearing. Jason, will you please read the public hearing notice?
Notice of public hearing, state of Wisconsin, County of Burnett, Tuesday, June 6, 2023 at 9 a.m. at the Burnett County Government Center, room 165, Town of Menan, Cyberman, Wisconsin, regarding the following Burnett County Land Use Shoreline Protection Ordinances. Number one, map amendment MAP 2301 Waltzing to rezone only that portion of Lot 1 CSM Volume 29, page 24, located in the Town of Menan, A in the fractional northwest quarter of the northwest quarter of Section 5, Town 39 North, Range 16 West, Town of Menan, from RR1 residential recreation to RRRC residential recreation, recreational commercial zoning district. Zoning change requested by Michael and Gene Waltzing, doing business as Whitetail Wilderness. Details of the proposed revision are available at Burnett County Land Services Department, Burnett County Clerks, and on the Burnett County website. Conditional use, number two, conditional use permit CUP 2303 Duffy. Public notice hereby given to all persons in the town of Webb Lake, Burnett County, Wisconsin, and Margaret and Dustin Duffy have made an application for a conditional use permit for the terms of the Burnett County Land Use and Shoreline Protection Code of Ordinances to allow a hobby farm in a residential district located at 29769 Long Lake Road in the RR1 zoning district, Lot 4, CSM Volume 10, page 30, and Lot 1, CSM Volume 16, page 251 in the northeast quarter of the southwest quarter, and Government Lot 3, Section 32, Town 41 North, Range 14 West. Number three, map amendment MAP 2303 Oaks to rezone Lot 2, Block 1 of Clem's Wood Lake View Addition, Section 27, Town 38 North, Range 18 West, located in the town of Wood River, from RR1 residential recreation to RR2 residential recreation zoning district. Zoning change requested by Christopher Oakes. Note, conditional use permit CUP 2304 goes along with this request. Details of the proposed revisions are available at Burnett County Land Services Department, Burnett County Clerk's Office, and on the Burnett County website. Number four, conditional use permit CUP 2304 Oaks. Public notice hereby given to all persons in the town of Wood River, Burnett County, Wisconsin, that Christopher Oakes has made an application for a conditional use permit for the terms of the Burnett County Land Use and Shoreline Protection Code of Ordinances to construct two rental storage buildings on the parcel located at 11492 North Shore Drive in the RR2 zoning district, Lot 2, Block 1 of Clem's Wood Lake View Addition, Section 27, Town 38 North, Range 18 West. Note, rezone request MAP 2303 goes along with this request. Number five, conditional use permit CUP 2305 Erickson. Public notice hereby given to all persons in the town of Lincoln, Burnett County, Wisconsin, that Emily Erickson has made an application for a conditional use permit for the terms of the Burnett County Land Use Code of Ordinances to operate a dance and fitness studio out of a portion of the accessory building, and continuing to use a portion of the building for indoor storage is granted in CUP 2051 at 9641 County Road D in the A2 zoning district, parcel in northeast quarter of the northwest quarter, Section 33, Town 39 North, Range 17 West. Number six, conditional use permit CUP 2306 Luke. Public notice hereby given to all persons in the town of West Marceline, Burnett County, Wisconsin, that Cody Luke has made an application for a conditional use permit for the terms of the Burnett County Land Use Code of Ordinances to allow chickens in a residential district located at 11013 Lundquist Road in the RR3 zoning district, parcel in the southeast quarter, Section 26, Town 39 North, Range 18 West. Number seven, map amendment MAP 2304 Gingerich to rezone 1 acre in the northeast quarter of the northwest quarter, Section 24, Town 38 North, Range 14 West, located in the town of Dewey, from A exclusive agricultural to A2 agricultural residential zoning district. Zoning change requested by Samuel Gingerich. Details of proposed revision are available at Burnett County Land Service Department, Burnett County Clerk's Office, and on the Burnett County website. Number eight, conditional use permit CUP 2307 Wigworth. Public notice to be given to all persons in the town of Menan, Burnett County, Wisconsin, that Gary and Heather Wigworth have made an application for a conditional use permit for the terms of the Burnett County Land Use and Shoreline Protection Code of Ordinances to allow a camping unit for up to 3 years on the parcel located at 6691 North Bass Lake Road in the RR3 zoning district, Lot 1, CSM, Volume 27, page 19, Section 22, Town 39 North, Range 16 West. There, I got my reading done for the day.
First on the public hearing, rezone request map 2301. Walsing rezone from RR1 to RRRC. Applicant.
Well, Martin Croce on behalf of the Gene and Mike Walsing, they're here also. This has been a very frustrating process. This was started back in September when we had the request for the rezone together with the town of Oakland for the expansion of the campground. At that time, we had multiple meetings. Oakland needed an extra month to review theirs. The town of Meenan did not get notice that it was delayed, so they had their meeting without us there. And then they did not discuss it with us at the next meeting, and we did not have an opportunity to talk to them before or get their response to the committee at that time before the board. And that request was denied for that rezone for the conditional, the rezone that we asked for before. So at Jason's recommendation or at our request, we went back just to ask for the Meenan portion of it because they did not had an opportunity to act on it. And so we went back to the town of Meenan on that, and we have discussed it at length since January. We've had multiple discussions with them. They've asked for the delays multiple times to go out and visit the site, to get a plan. We've provided all those things. We've got a thick file. We've provided a plan. We've had the opportunity to go out and look at it. I'll read you some excerpts from their minutes, and knowing what they said with their last motion on their May meeting, they denied the request. And Jason, this is in your packet. It says, at the Meenan meeting last night, the board denied the zoning request from Mike and Gene Walsing. The reason for denial was the lack of information for the CUP and the contradiction to the RRC district, which does not meet the requirements of the township current zoning and comprehensive growth plan. They just finished their growth plan, comprehensive plan, and they don't want to change anything. And so we're kind of stuck because they don't want to change to an RRC. It's R1. There's very little difference. We've provided the information, the differences between the R1 and RRC. They do not understand it. I don't know if Chris came and talked to you, Craig, or anybody at the last county board meeting. I know there's some questions with information and so forth.
I'll answer that while you're talking, but yeah, we talked briefly. And he, we intended to talk after I got done, but I got sidetracked by 2 or 3 other issues on the way out. I didn't get a chance to ever talk to him more. But at that time, I did not know that the town had denied it. But so there are some options besides the rezone. That's all I'll say for me.
And
Can I speak up on that? Actually, on the last meeting, they denied the wording. Mark was there, Mike was there. They actually denied the denial. They did not do it right. And back in January, all 3 of them approved it, and it should have went through then. And Tom O'Brien went on his own without any of the other board members' knowledge or anything. And that's why we're here today, because he put a stop to it. And really, we still had 2 on board with that. It should have went through.
All we can do is respond to the formal response by the town. I'm not going to get into what, how, who did anything.
No, but there is proper ways of doing it. I don't think he did it proper.
Separate matter, not our purview.
we'll continue on with that process too. So we did show the information. I believe Jason also has their copies of the minutes from January 26th meeting. And I'm going to read the town board minutes and they did send the approval to Jason at that time too. It says Mark Krause from Wagner Surveying was present to discuss the Whitetail Campground rezone request. Rezone would only be for a portion of the campground that sits in Meenan. The area was originally planned for future sites with a maximum of 25 sites. However, they did not think they can get that many sites put in. The campground maintains roads that are in the campground, does not cost the township anything. The town road will run through Oakland. The campsites will be in Meenan. There will be updated map created so that it'd be easier for the assessor. A new plan will be created for the board's approval. The board agrees to roughly 20 sites in Meenan. Sites 19 and 20, we had a preliminary drawings to them. We've even gone as far as provided drawings and so forth of what it would look like, so it would aid in their review process. There'll be no commercial property on the campground. RRC is still required for a cup. Pretty much self-contained. There will be no ATV issues. ATVs don't have access. 25 sites would create in addition to the existing 100 sites that are already there. O'Brien suggested someone from the board should take a visit to the site. Motion by Cybers to approve the rezone application for the campground only. For the campground ordinance for Whitetail Campground portion of in Meanan pending further review of the finished document. Seconded by Stracy, motion carried. So in January, they approved it. They sent the copies of the minutes to Jason, and it was on board to be heard in the county's February meeting. Since that time, Mr. O'Brien came in, asked for a delay to visit the site. The site's been open to visit all along. He still has never visited the site. We provided updated plans for there so they could review what the options were. They looked at that. The next meeting, they wanted the attorney to review it. The next meeting, they said the town's attorney said they couldn't put conditions on a rezone. We know they can't put conditions on a rezone. So they've been very, very confused all along on the whole process. They have switched chairman. Now Chris Cybers is a chairman. He's been in to talk to Jason. I know Jason's even offered to go to their meeting and review it with them. We had a meeting set up to come in to meet with Jason and corporate counsel Grindell on the process, and Meanan did not show up or did not make the attempt to come. And so they're very, very confused on what the options are. And they don't want to see the commercial district on the label. And so that's where the problem is, plain and simple. I don't think they have a problem with the plan at all. You can see by the minutes, they have reviewed it and approved it as far as the layout goes, but they don't like the fact that it needs to be zone commercial. And as you guys understand, that's the only way that we can apply for a CUP under the county's ordinances. So that's kind of where we're at today.
Is it not a situation that, just how we are now, that it could be done ag with a CUP?
No.
No.
And the Meanan zoning district is R1 right now, which in the past, before the county changed it to RRC, it would have been perfectly fine to go in for a conditional use permit. And the town would have been fine with it if it would have stayed the same, if it stays the same district, that says that they're okay with it, but they don't want to change the district. And so we're in a quandary, and I know that we've talked with you guys, and we've worked with the campground issue before, and one of the things was that the existing campgrounds would get not special treatment, but they'd be consideration for what they could do for expansions and working through this process, and that's where we're stuck right now, I believe. So
I think, I'd like, if we want to reserve the right to recall you to talk about this stuff later, I think we need to proceed with the hearing, right?
and our request would be that since Meanan's denied or required tabling, if you decide to table it and send it back for further review or until you look at some of the ordinance or some of the language potentially, instead of a denial, we'd appreciate a tabling of it. So we don't think you're going to approve it today because it doesn't, if the town doesn't approve it, you're not going to have the abilities to approve it or override them anyway. So we understand those situations. So I guess that's where we'd be looking at your request. We've been here, multiple times, and we've spent 9 months on dealing with this process, and it's frankly, it's pretty disheartening on how the process is going. So I just want to provide that information. So Mike, do you have anything else to say?
Well, other than we've tried to, I guess, line it up with Jason, attorneys and everybody to educate, and it's mainly Tom O'Brien, to educate him about the RRC, and he refuses to go to any of the things that we have tried to set up. He just doesn't show up, or doesn't take part, and this has been going on for what, like 7, 8 months? I think there's a real issue there going on. I guess it'd be nice if the county could override it. I feel to do what's right and pass this. But yes, I'd rather have a table than just shut out. If that's the route we had to go, so we can discuss it further and try and figure it out.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse
Questions
me,
from the committee.
we need that technical difficulty.
Sorry.
This conference line is for public speaking. You will be muted upon entry, and we will unmute your microphone when you are called upon for public comment. You will be able to hear the entire meeting while you are on the call. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments from the committee for the applicant?
As I said, I'd like to reserve the right to recall them later after we proceeded with the public hearing.
Yes. Is there anyone from the town of Meenan here in the board?
No.
Now I'll open the public hearing and ask if there are any questions or comments about public hearing from the audience. Please state your name.
Your microphone, I guess I'm not used to this.
That's
Up there now.
All right, Patrick Hansen, 11465 North Shore Drive in the town of Wood River. You just heard Mark Grousey say that this process is disheartening, or has been disheartening. I think nobody likes to hear the word no. No one likes to be told no, and the applicant here is being told no in various ways. This committee heard an application that was nearly identical last year. The town of Oakland considered it, said no. You considered it, said no. The applicant didn't like the answer, and so they're back with basically the same question, but just, you know, one piece of that same puzzle. And as Meenan has gathered more information, town of Meenan said no. The town of Meenan said they wanted more time. They wanted to understand more about the implications here. And they said no. And, you know, it's pretty, I think, disingenuous in some ways to stand here and say, well, the town of Meenan doesn't know what they're doing. They just don't understand. They're not willing to engage. I have a hard time believing that that's true. I think the town of Meenan knows pretty well what it's doing. And maybe there's some disagreement, and maybe it's not 100% of the board feeling one way or the other, but they've taken an official action and they've conveyed that to you. I think that makes this pretty simple. This rezone is not consistent with their comprehensive plan. They just redid their plan. They know the ins and outs of their plan. They looked at their plan. They looked at this zoning request and they said, no, it's not consistent. It's not compatible. We're not going to do it. So, you know, my apologies to Mark, I suppose. It's never easy to hear no, but he's hearing no. And I think we all need to live with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Any other public comments? We haven't had any call-ins, have we?
No.
This time then I'll close the public hearing. Rezone request map 2301 Walsing.
Yeah, Mark, I guess I'd like to have you come back up for a minute. Before easily heard both of us. Yeah, the concern I have is that the town kicked this around for a long time. A lot of delays, we put it off. I think that the issue here is two different towns, even if they've had opposing views on a parcel that is primarily in Oakland every single way except for the town line. Do you know what I mean? So Oakland's effect is some concern. And I think the issue about, you know, the town's official response that we got most recently is what we have to take, I think. And I get the point about requesting the table, but it just kicks the can down the road one more time too. At the same time, I would really like to see somehow something work out for Walsings to kick themselves up to the 150 cap. But it isn't, it's gonna take both Oakland and Meenan to agree on it, I think, in order for that to happen. My thoughts. Any further thoughts on that?
Yes, and I think that's part of some of the discussions that's been had is that Meenan was discussed where put this way, Oakland officials they've been working on the town hall situation too, because they're buying a town hall jointly. And so that's been discussed. Meenan's zoning district is R1, the smallest possible. the most dense district. If they did not have anything against it. What they said is they just did their comprehensive plan use. They didn't realize Walsing's golf course was out there on that Meenan property also as well. And so they need to look at their comprehensive plan to see that there was commercial activity and campground type activity out there already. As you remember seeing in Oakland's review, it said it was commercial campground property already. And the Oakland did not even accept the fact that their own map said that. And so we had disagreements with that. They just want to say no to it, period. And so, we're kind of stuck because if they want to expand it all, this is one of the portions. And so we've gone as far as showing both of them together. And the map would be put together to combine the properties also on a certified survey.
Would you envision that somehow we're going to try to do an expansion of a conditional use into a different town under the same permit? Or would we be talking about a totally separate campground permit?
We would be talking the same permit. It's a joint project. This is the only way the road is the only access into that property. It's not accessible.
See, that confuses even me. You know what I mean? Because I'm not sure that we can do it that way. I'm not sure that we create a precedent of another campground adjacent to it. With the fact that we have RR1 zoning, which is most generous zoning in every single way except for a camp. Okay. You could do a lot of other things. You could do a manufactured home community instead of a campground, right? On that same parcel with the CUP. Could subdivide it, of course, So it isn't that Mike and Gene don't have any use of that property. It's just for this one particular use in this one particular place. And that.
But it has also been planned because the road is out there and the power is already out there. They've been in place for over 20 years. And so that was part of Mike's plan all along. And just because the town didn't, the town doesn't have RRC on their comprehensive plan because that was not available when they made their plan. That's the problem is your district just started brand new and they don't have in their plan because it wasn't available to put in their plan. That's really where we're stuck.
In reality, residential recreational districts are mixed use district anyway by virtue of conditional use. The whole reason our RRC ever happened was the contention over the ability to approve or deny conditional use permits for contentious issues post Act 67. So the RRC created the ability for the local governments to regain some control of it. That's the point. And if the local governments don't agree with the rezone and it's non-shoreland, their veto authority is statutorily provided and you don't need to even provide a reason, really. Okay, so I just want to try to clarify why the position we find ourselves in. I think this needs to be rehashed. I agree with that. I'm not sure that tabling it and kicking the can down the road is that helpful. So
The question on there is really the C part of the RRC, whether it should be residential recreational rental or something instead of C, because the commercial is what the town does not understand or does not get a handle on or does not want.
I get that, but I think at the same time, there's other commercial activities that could be permitted in that district that aren't just campgrounds. But it was a place to put campgrounds where we would have the ability to consider them within the legislative aspect rather than the ministerial challengeable permit. I've said enough for now. We need to debate this as a committee, I think. But thanks.
Does anybody else have any questions on?
Anything further from Mark? I want to hog the show.
Because our question is, so we'd also, separate to this issue, would like to have that visit by the committee also, whether it's on this one or other ones, because we're finding that as the reason for the denial, and there is no other district like that in the area or any other adjoining counties either. So it really hasn't been tested. And
I get that, but we did rezone for Meenan in a different location to our RRC where no issues. I think we're certainly willing to do that where the ducks line up properly. So I think that's the other side of it. I don't believe the town even needs a reason to deny the change of their zoning map in a non-shoreline area. They could just say, no, we don't want to change it from RR1. It's all they need to say.
well, what they said, and I've been at all the meetings, they said they don't want a commercial, period. That's the reason for it. And that's what we're saying.
I mean, but anyway, let's let us talk about it.
Questions or comments from the committee?
I have a couple, I guess. One, I'm confused about how the town approved this. And then delayed it long enough for them to rescind that approval. If this would have been on the agenda in April, it would have passed because the town approved it. So, and I don't know, I mean, there's nobody here to answer this question. I'm disappointed that the town of Meenen didn't even show up for this. Did they ever do a site visit? No. Okay. So their main reason for wanting to delay it, they never even took the effort to go out and do it. My other comment is, having read through the town of Meenen comprehensive plan, all 154 pages of it, I hear a lot of comments about this doesn't go with the plan. I disagree with that. I think it does go with the plan. There's many mentions in this plan, and I could sit here and go through them for a long time about how this makes sense and how it works with the plan. Part of the plan talks about how great the Highway 70 campground is. So on one hand, they're denying one campground something and saying how great this other campground is. That confuses me. I don't get it. Personally, my opinion is, I think we created this zone for a reason to handle campgrounds. I would like the committee to approve this and let the town change it. Put the ownership back on the town. If they want to change it, fine, but for me, what's best for the county is to rezone this property.
Any other comments?
Sounds to me like there's a little disagreement between them, Walsings, and the town board. And I think they need to somehow sit down together and work it out to what their differences are and what the reasoning is. Sounds like township doesn't want to come to the table very often, but they need to.
That's a good question. I guess my point simply is that the town does have the ability to reverse not only this committee, but the entire county board if we would so choose. And I would prefer to not see us take it to that point. I would rather see them hunker down and try to work out some other alternative.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Something I've thrown out, and this would be something that a campground aspect. It could be theoretically, we could do a rezoning to a different zoning district. And RRC forestry, for example, which would allow not a seasonal park model type campground, but the regular normal campground type campground. If as an expansion, I'm still not convinced, and Jason could throw in on this, is if this could be an expansion of a conditional use permit in a different town that denied it into a different across the border. Now, admittedly, a town line is just a line, right? But jurisdictionally, if we say, yeah, we're going to allow an expansion of an existing campground in Oakland into Meenen under Oakland's permit, Oakland could contest that. You know, I mean, I see it. That's why I said it confuses even me. I say even me in a joke, but I've been at this for over 30 years. And this is not something we've ever done that I'm aware of. You know, so, but, or as I mentioned to Mike, you know, the truth of the matter is park model units are virtually it's a manufactured home community anyway. If we went through a conditional use permit in our R1 for a small manufactured home community, meaning 500 square feet or bigger units.
How many
Given
units
more
is
sites, maybe. I don't
on
know.
that, on this lot that they're talking about? How many of those type of units could he have?
There's not very much high ground on this. This is what, Jason, 7, 8 acres?
7 or 8 acres, I think.
The rest of it is floodplain and wetland. A whole separate issue about a rezone that has nothing to do with any of the discussion we've had before. Zoning this for you could argue it should be RR1 and resource conservation down in floodplain because because of all the wetland and floodplain. There's only a little bit of developable high ground there. But I mean, there are alternatives other than RRC is my point, including creating some building lots up there and selling them instead, you know. I mean, I'm just saying, it isn't like this is we're not letting anybody do anything. We're allowing almost everything except for the campground expansion, for what, some accommodation that I could see. And then the decision of whether in a different zoning district would be compatible to the town of Meanan could be reconsidered. Throwing the rezoning thing out altogether, So I throw that out, it's just for discussion, not recommending any of it. No,
The other thing is, we went quite a ways in trying to get townships involved in our decisions. And when they do weigh in on our decisions, we should respect their decisions.
well, I can tell you from personal experience, I have seen a township reverse an entire county board rezoning resolution once. Well, it can be done.
I did offer to go to the town of Meanan meeting but I was never asked, so.
I had said I would too if somebody
Yeah.
wanted to hear my view on it, but we never got connected. So I guess,
Sounds like they're pretty set.
yeah, I don't know what to say about how Meanan interacted with this. We weren't there, part of it, we don't know.
My only concern about tabling this or asking them to go back, I feel like they've gone back many, many times, and Jason's offered to meet with them many times, and they're not coming to the table. So I think asking them to get back involved is kind of worthless.
Well, here's what I would say on that, not that I'm disagreeing with your point, really, but it's all been over the zoning district, this particular zoning district. Take that out and then look at other alternatives, and then if they don't say. And frankly, we could approve a conditional use contrary to the town, because they don't have a veto over that. If you wanted to look at it that perspective.
Would tabling it help that situation? That puts them in a position, the Meanan in a position of denying everything
We
again.
would be tabling the rezoning, which has been the point of contention. They're just saying, okay, go back, reinvent the wheel, come up with something you can agree on, and don't come back to us. Don't bring it back to us until you have something you can agree on.
Can I address that a little bit? We have talked to them we've gotten as far as provided a layout of what we're gonna do out there. They've reviewed the layout. They don't have problems with the layout. They have problems with the district, period. That's what their problem is with the district. They don't have a problem with the layout. We do not have a neighbor. In fact, there aren't any neighbors out there. There is no complaints, no public opposition to this at all. Nobody was here complaining, or nobody's at the meetings complaining about it. It was just the town board's hang up with that. And we've had multiple discussions. They aren't against the plan. They're against the rezone and changing the plan that they just adopted. That's really where they're stuck on. And they would like some guidance on that, but they need to come in and ask, plain and simple. And that's what they haven't done. So
I get that. I mean, I understand that, but it is the response we have at the same time.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve this rezone.
I second it.
Motion, Jim? What's your motion?
To approve this rezone.
Okay, motion by Mr. Hayden.
Second.
Second by Mr. Chilinsky. Roll call vote. Mr. Chilinsky,
Yes.
Mr. Blumberg,
No.
Ms. Anderson,
No.
Mr. Anderson,
No,
Mr. Hayden,
Yes.
Mr. Conrad,
No,
Mr. Bickford, yes. Vote is in favor of denying the request. Next, conditional use permit CUP 2303 Duffy Hobby Farm Residential District. Applicant, please come forward.
No.
And state your name,
Oh, sorry, Margaret Duffy.
state what your request is.
So we have about 6 acres with about 1 undeveloped, and we would like to start a hobby farm. Nothing crazy.
begin with, just probably chickens and maybe geese, something small and manageable. So, yeah. We never filed a conditional use permit, so we kind of just best guessed on Hobby Farm, so. About it.
Any questions or comments from the committee for the applicant?
I forgot, but how many acres is that again total?
Oh, it's 6.
It's more than big enough to be our R3 area. Not talking about a rezoning necessarily, but just looking at the general amount of land that you have. I think in the staff recommendations, we talked about not to exceed 2 animal units.
Yeah, I did look that up, and so
I'm familiar with that condition would be.
I wasn't, but when I got the letter, I looked it up. Yeah, so 2, I think it said 2 units.
One cow, bunch of chickens would be. okay.
Yes.
Comments? I have one for Jason. On the application. States in 4114 and also in 4214.
Oh. I think that's a 1,
Which one?
the second one. It's in 4114.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is Webb Lake,
Yes,
not Blaine.
not Blaine. Yes, it is in Webb Lake, correct.
Any other comments? Questions of the applicant? If not, I'll open the public hearing. Are there any public comments on this request for Hobby Farm and Residential District? There's any comments, please come forward. We have no comments. No. If there are no comments, I'll close the public hearing this time. Committee wish to make any comments or? If not, is there a motion from the committee?
Motion to approve with the recommendations listed in a staff report. Service the sanitary system. Not to exceed 2 animal units at any time. And follow all other applicable regulations and requirements.
I'd like to second the motion.
Motion by Mr. Conrad, second by Mr. Blumberg. And roll call vote, Mr. Shiminski. Yes. Mr. Blumberg,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson stepped out. Mr. Payton,
Yes.
Mr. Conroy,
Yes.
Mr. Victor, yes. I would like to comment to the county staff. I wish they would teach us how to use these iPads so I don't have to sit there and go through 140 pages to find one. So,
We'll note that for IT.
motion to approve has been approved. Thank you very much.
I would like to know, we have the septic taken care of, so that's cleared, and have the receipt if I need to prove.
Yeah, just make sure that they reported it to the county. They go in and report it online and then it resets the time. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Next is a rezone request, map 2303 Oaks. Rezone from RR1 to RR2. The applicant please come forward.
Christopher Oaks. Like you said, I would like to rezone R1 to the property on 11492 North Shore Drive. Transfer.
Any questions, comments for the applicant, please? I'm gonna have to go through this series of going through each page anyways.
Yeah, I'm kind of stumbling through here.
Before they change the outlook of this iPad, you can go up on top and say, okay, I want to go to that one. Just punch it in there.
You don't like the software, the iPad is right. Hold on. How many acres is the total again?
This one's about 5.5 acres.
And it's more than 200 feet wide.
Yeah.
So it meets the criteria for RR2. You need to go to RR2 mainly for the upcoming conditional use permit. But generally speaking, going from a RR1 to an RR2 larger parcel is not something we ever find contentious. So, we just want to move with the rezoning. Any other comments?
We haven't, I don't think you've opened the public hearing yet,
No.
but
Sorry, I jumped ahead of you.
All, with no other comments from the committee or questions, I'll open the public hearing. Are there any other public comments, please?
Patrick Hansen, 11465 North Shore Drive in Grantsburg, town of Wood River. I don't oppose this rezone. I think it's fine moving from RR1 to RR2. That's usually not contentious, as you mentioned. I do own land just a few parcels to the west of this parcel, and the land that I owned to the west is zoned RR2. There are 6 parcels there that are zoned RR2. And so before you go too far down the path of thinking, oh, well, then there's RR2 in that area. And so it's, you know, it's not like a spot zone or something like that. Just the one thing I do want you to know about the other parcels that are zoned RR2 in this area, and this is true for my land and my in-laws and family that own that land, is when we bought it, it came with deed restrictions. And because when that land was subdivided from agriculture to RR2 in this case, there were concerns in the neighborhood about wanting to preserve, you know, quality of life and just the quiet residential neighborhood aspect of the area. And so we accepted that when we bought it. We knew that came with it. Those deed restrictions mean we can only build a house, can't just build like a shed or an outbuilding, or can't put in storage units or things like that. So I struggle to square that notion of, you know, what people wanted for the neighborhood with kind of what we're dealing and looking at today. But I think we'll really kind of get into that with the conditional use permit some more. But just wanted to make you kind of aware of that context for the area. The other parcel I own on the east side of this is a lake lot with our cabin where we plan to retire. So it's a residential home. But I don't have an issue with the move from RR1 to RR2. And so do as you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? We have no online.
No.
If not, I'll close public comments at this time. Committee. For the rezone map 2303, rezone from R1 to R2.
I just have a question. Staff concerns, it says a rezone to commercial would not fit with the comprehensive plan. That must be the town of Wood River, but they also provided no input.
they provided no input.
Okay.
And this is really not a rezone to full blown commercial. You know, it's conditional use in a residential district, but yes.
I did speak to all the members of Wood River, they were all, not one of them had a.
Any other comments or questions from the committee? Not.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the map amendment. 2303
Lumber.
I'll second that.
with that one staff recommendation, follow local, county, state and federal requirements for this activity.
Motion in a second. Mr. Szymanski. Yes. Mr. Blumberg.
Yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Payton.
Yes.
Mr. Conlon.
Yes.
Mr. Beckford, yes. Request for map 2303 has been approved. Next, we'll move on to conditional use permit CUP 2304 Oaks for storage rental buildings. Please come forward and explain.
All right, it's the same property we were just talking about, and I'd like to put 2 buildings up that are 24 wide by 110 feet long. Didn't send a map. And we do have an existing very large building my dad put up back in 78, so it's been in the family since the 70s.
The storage, your planning would be entirely enclosed within buildings, no open storage.
Correct.
Involved.
Yeah,
Primarily voting stuff.
I'm hoping, yes. I have a lot of interest within the lake shore. I'm hoping mostly local people. I've had a lot of interest already, right, within our road.
Well, I'm thinking one of the arguments we've heard and I think have accepted a lot is that a bunch of bubble wrap pontoons sitting around outside aren't particularly aesthetically pleasing either. And having them inside is better for both the pontoons and boats and the way it looks around there. So
Yeah, I'm.
I mean, that's usually the need that people seem to be expressing.
That looks cleaner and neater, stuff marked all over.
Any other questions for the applicant?
I guess the question I have, I can't tell if there's, any trees or screening. And is there a site map? See the area? I was just trying to, like, how visible will the buildings be?
It's,
There's a few, if you look at that one kind of zoomed in aerial, there's a few pine trees kind of
Oh.
south of
And I
that.
was thinking of planning more. We had to remove them somewhere leaning and dying.
Is that little water body man-made or?
I think it's just a little wetland that we digitized probably on the hydro layer,
The reason being it'd be a setback. from that.
We're treating that as a wetland with a 40-foot setback is how we treated it.
That's what I was wondering.
I know my
I
dad
kind of
dug it.
assumed that, but I didn't know it.
He said his dad dug it.
He dug it, and he put it, yeah, that's what I called it. I even have some paperwork way back, early seventies, he worked with the county then.
I can tell you from looking at dirt out there, that there's a marl layer down not very far.
Yeah, around that lake, there's a lot of, I don't,
It's
I was
not,
too young to know.
not very far from your place on the waterfront. On the crest of that hill, you find an ancient beach.
Really?
Yeah, real reduced, sand. Deep black horizon. Blue Lake obviously was a lot deeper once.
Yeah, there's a lot of marl around the lake.
We can go dig holes in the neighbor's yard sometime and I'll show it to you.
And I'm just not. Is there a drawing that shows where the storage will be?
Well, there was a drawing on the rezone, and I don't know, maybe I didn't put the drawing with the CUP app. You can, if you look in at this, the zoomed in aerial, you'll see the one's already built.
Yep.
And then you can kind of see the pad for the second one.
This is the one I sent them.
Oh, the pad.
That's
Oh, this is the
that's where
existing.
this is existing.
That's where the second
Okay,
one's
so
going.
basically.
Oh,
I'm
sure.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, you've got some area cleared out.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions with the applicant? Now I'll open the public hearing at this time. Is there any public comment?
Patrick Hansen, 11465 North Shore Drive, Grantsburg, town of Wood River. So with this proposed storage facility, I've talked a little bit with Chris, and so I won't put words in his mouth, but he can confirm or disagree with kind of what I say here, what I share. I think what I would like to ask, I think we're heading down the path of approving this, and I think there is a benefit to the neighbors in the area. In fact, I've thought that it might be nice to have a storage unit there myself. But I would like to ask that this committee put some conditions on this one because it's in a residential area and because of kind of the nature of this parcel in particular. So, I couldn't see any permits or conditional permits for what is currently the shed that was built in the late seventies. The Oaks have been, great neighbors, and expect that to continue to be the case. In fact, I think your dad built the house next to him. Yeah, it's a nice building, very nice, nicely built. But I would like to see this committee exercise some of the authority that you reaffirmed recently, which is to set this conditional use permit to expire on transfer or change of ownership. Because we all have a good understanding of the Oaks and what they plan to do and just how invested they are in the neighborhood, in the area. But I would hate to see a different operator or buyer come in at some point unexpectedly, things change. And have them come in with an idea that maybe neighbors don't agree with as much. And do things in a way that maybe folks wouldn't be comfortable with. So I'd like to see this cup expire and transfer change of ownership. You kind of touched on this in the dialogue before, but I'd like to see no outdoor storage. I don't even know that that's allowed in our R2, but I would just like that to be clear. The lighting right now, I think there's no lighting on it. I'd like any lighting to be minimal, down lighting. Again, because it's there in a residential area. And certainly if it's lit up like a Christmas tree, that would affect the neighbors. And then I'd also like the signage to be minimal. Chris has talked about maybe putting a sign just on the building that says a number to call for storage. I mean, I think something like that's fine, but I wouldn't want to, even a small billboard along the road. I mean, we just don't, it's a residential area. Just keep it low key, keep it simple. There were some questions about screening. I mean, it doesn't look bad. It looks kind of the same as the shed that's there. It's, red and metal. So I don't think anyone has a concern with how it looks, but extra trees or screening would be nice. And I think you guys can require that. That would be a reasonable thing, but I don't think anyone's upset with the way it looks right now today. So that would be my input. If you choose to approve this, I would just ask that you do with conditions. In particular, most importantly, the expiration on change of ownership or transfer. Thank you.
Any other public comments?
I have a question, actually. I didn't plan on speaking, but Patrick brought something up. If it expired on change of deed, so like, let's say something happened to my husband and then it was returned over to me, would that mean that I would have to come to the board again for approval to have it? Is that what that means?
Yes.
And what has been the precedent in a situation like that?
Well, I don't think there's been anyone recently because that law was modified a few years ago to allow counties to do that.
It did not used to be an option. It
Yeah.
ran with the property. But one of the maybe only good things about Act 67 was that it did provide for that option. We could say renewal or review and renewal. We don't necessarily have to mandate expiration. Depends on how we phrase it.
Yeah.
But we have in the past reviewed some things at time.
I mean, I know obviously we can't speak for future committees, but I would think if, you're operating it and there's no issues, I would think it'd be approved again.
Okay.
I think part of that protection that Mr. Hansen's seeking there is just that somebody not come in there and think because they have this big building, they can put a different use in it.
Put manufacturing.
Yeah, we totally understand that. We don't,
I
don't think Chris ever plans on.
I think we could wordsmith that in such a way that it's a review and renewal rather than an outright expiration.
Okay, just because I know Chris, we want to keep everything in our family.
What if in the future that happened and a committee denied it? Do they have to tear the buildings down?
I wouldn't say they'd have to tear them down. I'd say they have to repurpose them. Like personal storage. I guess they'd have really big personal storage.
Yeah, I think it's not so much because of the storage. I think it's because of the potential for a different use.
Yeah.
And that would, even if they wanted to put in a different use, it would require new conditional use.
Right, so a new owner, if they wanted to change the use, would have to file a CUP anyway, wouldn't they?
Yeah. If they want to change use, yeah.
Okay.
That's
So
why I was
everything,
saying,
I apologize for interjecting, but if everything stayed the same, then it doesn't sound. The property was maintained. And you weren't gonna build anything else, it was turned over to me, then it doesn't sound like it should be a problem.
Based on today's standards, I don't think it'd be a problem. Maybe 20 years from now, storage units are evil or something and, everybody wants them banned. I don't know, but yeah.
Thank you.
Any other comments and questions?
I guess my question would be, would another option be just to make the conditions such, or basically that's there anyway, the condition is only this anyway. I mean, we can't necessarily add conditions,
Yeah, if they came in and wanted to change the use, they'd have to be here
we
anyhow.
have to do that anyway, okay.
Yeah, it's just a matter of if when you change ownership, do you want to have it expire and or be reviewed?
There's no other questions or comments. Someone wish to make a motion?
I think if we were going to add conditions, we should probably discuss those before we make a motion of what they might be.
Wait just a minute, I gotta use my iPad so I know what the conditions are.
And mine turned itself off again, so. Let me see. Just so everybody knows, we just all got issued new equipment with new software and it's an adventure. so.
I can read them while you're looking for them. If considering approval, then the following items may want to be included in the motion. No outside storage allowed. Land use permits to be obtained for all items before construction / relocation. Follow all local, county, state, and federal requirements for this activity.
Did you want to add the other one too?
I was just reading those. Do you want me to repeat what Patrick said? His request was that expire on transfer of ownership, no outdoor storage, minimal or minimal lighting or down lighting, signage on the building only, and perhaps some screening.
I might modify that. Make that probably a new, start over after 2 and make 3. That upon sale or transfer of ownership to permit, the CUP is to be reviewed and renewed or expire if use is to change.
Wish to make a motion?
To add that one as
Yes.
number 3.
Yep.
And do we have any screening issues?
We need to add that, units in residential, the, downward minimal lighting.
Yeah, good point, yeah. Light, a new number 4.
Yep.
Lighting to be directed downward.
And I guess I would potentially add as number 5, signage on the building only. I don't know if you'd restrict the size or if there's already ordinances for that anyway.
There's an ordinance with sign.
There's sign ordinances. I'm just trying to read through what size would be allowed if you didn't
Like an
mention.
on-premise sign for it's not gonna be able to be a billboard.
No.
Be a fairly small sign regardless on the building.
Storage here, call.
Yeah, so that already exists. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be what, a percentage of the
Well,
square footage of the face?
It's a percentage of the no more than 80 square feet per side on the building, I believe is what the building sign would be. I'm trying to read through them right here, right now.
Reduce that a bit down to maybe 40.
The sign that he could have out there would only be 6 square feet out on the road, so that'd be pretty small.
Yeah, like a 2 by 3. Yeah,
Six.
Yeah, yeah,
would be on the road.
yeah.
And that'd be okay on the building.
Well, you could do bigger on the building. The 6 square feet would be one you could have out by the road.
I didn't wanna do that for the neighbor.
No.
I'd rather just put a little one on the building so.
Like
And the
40,
one on
40.
the outside, would that have to have a permit?
On the building,
No, the one, if you would decide to put one out on that 6-foot one out on.
the 6-foot one would not need a permit, the one out by the road. Have to meet the requirements, so it can't be in the road right away and all. That's some various other requirements. Can't be more than 6 feet tall.
It won't be real far off the road anyway, but like
No.
4 by 8 would be as big as you would ever do in a building anyway.
I probably won't do that big, yeah.
We could make a no more than 32 square feet on the building.
And how many?
You only get one per face,
On the facade.
you could say. One per building face.
Building.
So his building is essentially that.
Right.
wall.
It's not
He'd
like
only
one on
do,
the backside,
no.
so it would be 3 maximum.
yeah, he'd only probably put one on the south side of the building, because that's the only one facing the road.
Sign, I would.
Yeah. The other ones wouldn't do any good, because nobody'd see them, you know.
Kind of offering a condition, one sign not to exceed 32 square feet on the building.
And is it possible to leave the existing screening?
To do what again?
Leave the existing screening? You know, if there seems to be a few trees there.
Seems like it's almost.
So you could say something like this,
I mean.
you could just say maintain existing vegetation for screening.
Maintain or replace existing vegetation, screening, call it good.
Sounds good.
So the conditions, if I understood them right, would be no outside storage allowed. Land use permits to be obtained for all items before construction relocation. We would have, permit will need to be renewed or expire on transfer or change of use.
I'd say review and renewed or expire if use change. If the use
Okay.
will change.
You're gonna have, one building sign on the south face not to exceed 32 square feet in size. You're gonna have all lighting to be downward facing. Follow all local, county, state, federal requirements. And then you had maintain and or replace existing screening, vegetated screening. I think that's all of them, right?
That's it.
Got them all?
And then
Tanya?
also, and then the same follow all local.
Yep, follow all local, county, state, federal requirements.
Is there any way we can transfer to family or that would not work out?
He wants to know if he could transfer to family without having to have it expire or be renewed.
Yeah, I would think that would be reasonable.
So you could say transfer or sale to outside family, outside of the family members would
Yeah.
mean it needs to be renewed, reviewed, or it would expire on change of use.
I think that would work.
You got that one, Tanya?
Meets the intent, I think.
Yeah.
So does anyone wish to make a motion?
Wasn't the motion made?
No, we
No.
we agreed upon conditions, so now.
I'll make a motion
Motion by Ms.
with
Anderson,
the listed conditions.
for a second,
that.
second by Mr. Conroy.
Should we have a definition or clarification as to what family means? Does it mean spouse? Does it mean children? Does it mean cousins?
Well,
third
cousin,
Could we
Which
say
is
immediate
spouse.
family and that would be a little vague?
spouse and siblings,
No, not
Spouse and siblings,
Children.
spouse and children,
spouse and children.
adopted.
Need a motion,
children.
a second. Mr. Shabinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Lumber.
Yes.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Payton,
Yes.
Mr. Conroy.
Yes.
Mr. Bickford, yes. Conditional use permit 2304 has been approved. Next, we have
Thank you.
So the rezone will go to county board in a couple weeks. You don't have to be there. I usually go there on and tell the county board about it. And then after that.
This conference line is for public speaking. You will be muted upon entry and we will unmute your microphone when you are called upon for public comment. You will be able to hear the entire meeting while you are on the call. Thank you.
So in about a month, I will send you a letter basically that just says your rezone and conditional use permit was approved and all that stuff.
unless the system fails, then we. Next, conditional use permit 2305 Erickson for dance and fitness studio.
Good morning, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, great, okay. So my name is Emily Erickson. I am an employee of Pam's Dance Company, which has been around in Burnett County for many, many years. And recently, my in-laws, who were are Rhonda and Gary Erickson, the owners of Erickson's Auctions, they are retiring and downsizing, so they moved. And my husband and I now live on the property where we want this dance and fitness studio to go in the old auction barn. So I just wanted to make sure that it's
This conference line is for public speaking. You will be muted upon entry and we will unmute your microphone when you are called upon for public comment. You will be able to hear the entire meeting while you are on the call. Thank you.
as well when my kids get a little bit older.
Thank you, Emily. Any questions for the applicant?
Got some more questions. Did we miss anything that she said, or did it pick up? No.
Oh, I think we
Did I
missed
lose you?
I think we missed about 30 seconds while
Yes.
Wanda was saying her recorded.
I'd kind of like
You'll-
to, unfortunately, have
Did
a
we hear the whole
repeat.
thing?
Yeah,
Sorry to bother you, Emily. Could you repeat your whole speech again, please?
Word for word.
Yes.
it disconnected, so we just.
Did we miss anything that she said, or did it pick up?
Oh, thank you. We
Did I lose you?
we missed about 30 seconds while Wanda was saying her recorded.
I'd kind of like to, unfortunately, have a repeat. Yeah.
Sorry to bother you, Emily. Could you repeat your whole speech again, please?
Okay, so I am also muting and unmuting you from YouTube too, so I'm hoping that I'm not going over my time limit. So I am an employee of Pam's Dance Company. Pam's Dance Company has been around Gwinnett County for many, many years. And my in-laws, who are Gary and Rhonda Erickson, were running the Erickson Auctioneers out here for 40-some years out in the auction barn, and they have recently decided to downsize, so they moved out of the property, and my husband and I now occupy this property. So we would like to move my dance classes out into that building. And we would also like to continue using part of that building for Gary and Rhonda's existing storage customers, like their boats and cars and things that people store over the winter with them. And the storage would run, I think, October through May. My dance classes would run September through May. And then I would possibly like to do summer classes when my kids get a little bit bigger. The fitness classes that I would run out there would be
We lost her again.
Right here.
Technology is great.
Maybe we should go back to the old telephone system.
How about always in person?
Yeah, I can go back to the always in person. Never have an issue then. Other than seating capacity sometimes.
Yeah, there was that.
So Emily, if you can hear us at all, we lost the connection again, so we're going to get our IT person. So hang out for a minute or two.
I think we now heard the whole thing.
Pretty much.
It's an opportunity for us to exercise the virtue of patience.
You know, the thing that would be an issue if this was a real contentious thing going on and it kept dropping. The argument would be if anybody actually was an open meeting anymore, you know, that kind of issue, or whether someone got stifled on their response, the kind of thing.
Yeah, that could really make a
So-
mess.
Or if someone felt they didn't get their 3 minutes or got more than 3 minutes because they got to say the same thing twice.
Any number.
But, you know, and none of the laws are updated to reflect, you know, all this technology we have nowadays, so.
Although the court system seems to have figured it out pretty much.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
it
do a
does-
lot of Zoom
Don't
stuff.
even have virtual signatures and whatnot in their documents now. It used to be you had to use a black pen or whatever. New pen, for some reasons, we couldn't prove it wasn't a you know, photocopied signature.
Well, I don't know, he was here half an hour ago, so.
And I was gonna ask him if I saw him today, but I noticed sitting by this thing one time, it notified me that someone near Siren had access to my code using a smartphone. And I was thinking, I got thinking, what was that? Well, maybe it was James, doing some of the updates. I think it was smartphone instead of iPad. Otherwise, if I was somebody reading, in my files without my permission, right? Now, you don't have to be too tricky to crack our code. When we first started to get everything online, you remember, we had to have passwords that we had to change every so often, and they're supposed to be our names. I just used an alphanumeric equivalent of my name, so I wouldn't forget it. It was fine with everybody in IT. Oh, that's what that is. Sure, it's okay.
Yeah.
That would be the first thing I try if I was trying to crack into somebody's numbers.
This is a perfect example. This is a perfect example. Somebody lost a phone at the bar here a couple months ago. They had caused some trouble, so we kind of wanted to find out, but they had left their phone. Didn't know the email or anything. And so, and this, my bartender's daughter came in, she's pretty savvy. And I said, hey, can you get into this phone? 5 minutes later, I was talking to the guy's wife. Wow.
She was wondering where he was.
Wondering where the phone was and how it got there, I know that.
Yeah.
And he couldn't come and get it for 2 days, she said.
He was in jail.
Should have been.
Yes, this isn't the grandfather, but it's just. Yes.
I have a question for James beginning of since. On my inbox, it shows. One. Well, I don't know where to kind of locate that. It's probably way back somewhere.
Wasn't that just showing that one of them's
Has-
unread?
Has not, no,
Yeah.
but I don't know what, I'm just going to tell you too, Randy. See, I'm just wondering if there's a shortcut button or something to push to find zero in on the ones that would be good.
Yeah,
Studying everybody. Somebody says.
see, you guys got the new Outlook.
Yeah.
And I'm not even on that new one yet, because they're working on switching us all over, I think. To this new email format or something. How do you?
Could poke around, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't want to mess anything up.
So I'll save that for James, put him on my list.
Because
Because if you take one here.
it was a while ago.
And if you went under red, it should change it to 2. Okay, so put a blue dot by it.
Yeah,
So you don't have any other one that had a blue dot?
not in the recent one.
Okay.
We can make that disappear. We don't. need to do that. That should put it in the trash.
It's in this other email. It's in there.
That's where you push this button.
Whole bunch of blue dots. Yeah, I do not know.
Put them on their list.
James hurries up. I got another meeting at 6:00.
We pushed the limit more than once. I thought the way we were on a pretty good pace here today for a while.
That was moving really good.
Much brought in.
That happened more than once on the comp plan meeting. Finished this one and then 15 minutes later it started the next one.
There's a blue dot.
Oh, okay.
12/21/22.
All right, well, I'll leave that for show and tell. And then. In order to locate that. And find it.
Without just literally scrolling. Holiday social, you missed it. That's already happened, so.
Yeah.
Says, can't believe it. Protected. So he changed it this morning. I don't know.
I had a heck of a time finding a
December.
packet, it's in the red folder,
Conjunction.
But I-
December meeting.
like all kinds of stuff, how to use the colors and stuff and no.
Now you scroll a long way to get back up there.
Yeah.
You did well.
Part of it.
Talking about patience, I must have run. I got far back.
I found my way there, but I didn't, I still don't know for sure how I did it,
I told him this morning, I said, I don't want to see what it says. That's supposed to be where you make your notes in it. I don't see it.
Yeah, this is supposed to be an improvement in software and capacity to store stuff and all that, but
I've got Microsoft, maybe buy a program, so we'll do it.
I've
been doing it for years for free and now they're buying.
well, I've got on my Chromebook and I do work on it at home. I don't have Word. I don't need Word, I don't. But when I send stuff to Wanda, like those resolutions for the Lake districts. And he has to type them because it's not Word.
That's in the eastern.
He said, we gotta put Word on your Chromebook at home. I said, no, I'm not supposed to be doing this.
Right here.
I'm just trying to help out.
Word of it to use every day.
It's a northwest and north fork. So I think it's a this road intersection, south or east.
It's forever. It's till tomorrow.
Yeah, well, some of that's where.
I don't know, so I bought the 150.
What does it mean, does it mean for the?
I really like
life of the
these.
computer, or does it forever, or-
Can I have? Is that?
Yes.
I thought I had to buy it. Yeah, you buy it.
That would be a condition.
It's like James.
I do not know where James is.
I knew it's going to get him.
Video have been at the highway shop.
I'll just write them all and send them into you. That's time too, because you have only so many days to get it done. After you
I'm gonna have to go get a donut, I think.
So anyway, it's.
And another soda.
I know I'm trying not to finish it, but it's, there's not much left.
Now's your time.
Maybe I'll get some coffee.
They didn't appeal.
Oh, they did?
They did not, the appeal time expired, but they did ask for reconsideration. And according to our attorney, the reconsideration, it's got no chance, because there's no basis for it. If that would happen, that would be legitimate for reconsideration. And Brian Buchanan made another open records request, and I don't see my old school email. I'm searching for the names of all these. CUP is
If you got more than 5 minutes, I'll.
2058
Show you.
numbers.
We're sending them a Zoom link and hopefully that will work, so we'll be able to talk to the people.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just not working. There's some kind of glitch or I don't know, so. I'll try doing it a different way, maybe a few minutes, want us getting their email addresses so that they can get.
So do you want to take like a 10-minute break then or something?
That would probably help.
Yeah,
Recess 10 minutes.
10-minute break.
So what are we gonna do?
Send the person a Zoom link or something so they can try to.
What do you got, Mark? That's a file. Yeah, truck, but you know.
Yeah.
Oh, he's not escaping. He's got a plat.
We gotta work after the plan.
So as soon as we're ready, I've got to ask Emily to unmute, so whatever.
As soon as Mr. Conroy gets back. Can I just ask you to unmute?
What's that?
Go ahead, unmute it.
Unmute her? Okay.
I said I would like to say something.
We gotta get. I see Jim.
Thank you for waiting, Emily.
He doesn't say anything about it.
Thank you guys for being so
We've been having
patient.
Lots of problems here.
Emily, are you
happened?
there?
Yes.
We need to open this.
You want me to start, Phil?
I guess, yeah.
Except I think it's.
If it's not on the agenda, it's description. That's true.
Emily?
Yes.
Oh, yay, there you are.
We've lost you partway through, Emily, so go ahead.
The last part?
The last part I heard was when my kids get older.
Oh, okay. So yes, when my kids get older, I would like to use the building in the summertime more, but that's not happening anytime soon. But so there will be no real changes to the outside of the building, the agricultural parts of the land. It would just be the inside of the building that is used for a different purpose.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the committee for Emily?
On this building, is there gonna be like a wall or a separate studio for the dance to separate it from the storage?
Yes, there will be a small wall put up just so the kids don't get into all the big stuff.
And do you have sanitary facilities there?
Yes, we do. And I will call the company today. I saw that was one of my conditions. I will call today to make an appointment to get that done as soon as possible.
Questions?
Covered mine.
Okay. There are no other questions from the committee. I'll open the public hearing at this time. Are there any public comments for CUP 2305? There are no call-ins?
None of
Does
that.
that mean we don't know?
No, that's a no.
Okay. I'll close the public hearing at this time. We do have some stipulations that the staff has come up with. One is to follow all sign regulations, choose sanitary system for auction center to be in service and maintain reports to the county by 8/1/2023. Follow all local, county, and state federal requirements for this activity. Are there any comments on the stipulations? Are there any corrections or additions? If not,
I'd like to make a motion to approve CUP 2305 Erickson with the 3 staff recommendations included in that motion.
motion made by Mr. Blomberg. Is there a second? Mr. Shimansky, second. Roll call vote. Mr. Shimansky.
Yes.
Mr. Blomberg.
Yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Payton.
Yes.
Mr. Conroy.
Yes.
Mr. Bickford, yes. Conditional use permit 2305 has been approved and you will be notified by the staff.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for bearing with us.
Thank you. Next, conditional use permit CUP 2306, Luke. chickens in residential district. The applicant online or?
Yeah, she is.
Kelly?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep,
Please
we
go
can
ahead
hear
and
you.
Explain your application.
Yes, I'm Callie Luke. I'm the wife of Cody Luke, the applicant. We live on 5 acres of residential in West Marshland. We're applying for an application to have chickens on our residential parcel.
Any questions from the committee for the applicant?
Do we have a number? How many chickens? Ally,
How many we currently have, want to have, or how do you mean?
how many are the most you'll ever have?
I hope to never have more than 15.
Good, then we'll help you put a number on there. Are these egg laying chickens or meat or both?
They're egg layers, and I don't plan on having meat, but you never know.
That's not really a problem because they grow so fast, you generally have them processed before they start crowing when they're roosters.
Right. Right, it's a pretty short window.
Yeah, I don't think we have any concern about that volume of chickens, or if some of them are roosters. Nearest neighbors are hundreds of feet away. So. And it's a 5-acre density out there, I think.
Yeah, question for Jason. On the application to state what's section, township, or range.
Oh. Well, I can tell you from the PIN number what section, town and range.
I looked it up on because of
Yes,
the name of the road, so.
section 26, yes, 3918.
Okay. Any other comments?
Down in the southeast corner of that, right?
Yep, of that township. Yep.
Of that section.
Yep.
I didn't think that the cracks will line it. So.
No,
Any other comments or questions? For the application. With that. Following items will be sanitary system be serviced and reported to the county by 8/1/2023. Lock and chain to be installed on the septic tank by 8/1/2023. Committee may want to consider adding a cap to the number of chickens allowed, which was 50.
I think I would recommend 50 consensus of the committee.
Would be 50. No more than 50 will be allowed. Committee may want to prohibit roosters.
I think the density out there, I don't think roosters would be a problem regardless, but they're talking layers, not meat chickens, that they keep roosters around anyway.
Okay, and then follow all local, county, state, and federal requirements for this activity.
so it sounds like you'd have condition 1, 2, 3 with a cap of 50 and then 5.
Correct.
You would
Strike
not
four.
have strike.
You don't want to have to go out there and look for roosters, do you?
No, not really. I don't want to go count chickens either, but.
Yeah, like I've said, when I lived in the city of Dallas, it was nice hearing roosters.
I don't really mind them either, but if you get if it was R1 and potential for a lot of close by people, I can see it, but not there.
Someone wish to make a motion.
I'll make a motion. I'll make that motion to approve this cup with the, I guess it's 4 conditions.
Right.
Second,
Second,
Mr. Baumberg. Roll call vote, Mr. Schminsky. Yes. Mr. Baumberg.
yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Payton.
Yes.
Mr. Conroy.
Yes.
Mr. Beckford, yes. Conditional use permit 2306 has been approved.
May I ask one follow-up question?
Sure, go ahead.
For the lock and chain on the septic, is the sanitary company to report that when they come service? Or how do I report that back?
You could just literally email me and say that you got it, a lock and chain on there.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
That's a safety thing, as
Yep.
much as anything. There have been kids fall into those things.
Or chickens.
No chicken, kids.
Okay,
Thank you.
next rezone request map 2304. Kinrich, rezone from A to A2. Applicant, please come forward and explain your application.
Stanley Gingrich to rezone 1 acre from A exclusive agriculture to A2 agriculture residential.
Questions from the committee for the applicant?
No, I'm familiar. I talked to Supervisor
Johnson.
Johnson about this and we got good explanation. Perfectly appropriate use.
Your use is for cemetery. Any other comments of that from the committee or the applicant? If not, I'll open the public hearing. Are there any public comments on this application? We have no call-ins. Won't speak. I'll close the public hearing at this time. We did receive a comment from the town of Oakland that they were in favor of this.
Town of Dewey, yep.
So items to be included in motions. No portion of cemetery to be within the floodplain area, ground elevation below 1070. Sign to be permitted by 8123. Roadside shed to be moved to compliant location by 8123. Land use permits to be obtained from multiple structures by 8123. Septic system evaluation to be submitted to the county by 8123. Or Department of Safety and Professional Services waiver to be obtained by 8123. Creekside deck to be moved to compliant location by 8123. Follow all local, county, state, and federal requirements for this activity. Any additions or corrections for the stipulation?
No, it looks like there are some things that need to be brought into compliance, but they're all doable, right? I'll move to approve the request subject to staff report conditions 1 through 7.
I'd like to second the motion. Did you have something further?
No, I was just gonna say, the dates, I was gonna check with the dates are achievable. I think so.
August 1st on all of them.
Motion by Mr. Conroy, second by Mr. Blomberg to approve the rezone request 2304. Roll call vote. And Mr. Trubisky. Yes. Mr. Blomberg.
Yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Hayden.
Yes.
Mr. Conroy.
Yes.
Mr. Victor, yes. Rezone request map 2304 has been approved. This will be going to.
So this will go to county board in a couple weeks. You don't have to be there. I go there and explain it. Usually they're rubber stamp anything that comes through the committee. Then I'll send you a letter afterwards telling you it was approved with the conditions. And I know when we talked yesterday, I was going to give you this form. The sewer evaluation.
I'm sure Mr. Johnson will approve it. I'm sure Mr. Johnson will approve it.
I was very surprised. I looked at it, didn't expect to find a cluster of non-compliance, but they're all relatively recent, small things.
Next, we have conditional use permit CUP 2307 Wigworth camper to be up to 3 years. Applicant, please.
Good morning.
Good morning. Sorry about the delay.
Oh, no problem. Well. Again, we did have a 3-year one already. We're looking for another, and we don't plan on having it there for the 3 years. We have plans together for a house cabin that is out for pricing right now. Some of that pricing, as you can imagine, is a little crazy compared. I got $100,000 differences in material costs for 2 builders right now. But looking to have that approved so that we stay there and enjoy what we have there right now. Then get this going within a year and a half to start the build on what we want.
Question, comments? For the applicant?
Sounds like you're gonna make the 3 years, but just keep in mind if for some reason you're not ready yet. You need to come back before it expires if you need another
Understand.
year or something. You're getting a little twitchy about extending these continually every 3 years.
And again, it wasn't our plan with what went on in the last couple of years. With the COVID and all that kind of stuff, trying to get stuff in line.
Then you let prices will stabilize and start to drop back down. Everything will go good.
I'm finding it cheaper to buy my own materials if that's the route I have to go.
And I guess I have a question, just included in the package, there's a picture of the camper sitting there, and I mean, there's a lot of water right by it. Is that just after a rain or? Image, that's page 126 of the packet.
That would be after a big rain.
Just after a big rain.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gotta be after the rain. That's just casual water.
It looked like that to me too. It's too much to arrange it in such a way I wasn't suspicious of.
Yeah, we really don't, with the drive that we've had put in, that would probably be before everything's graded, right? We won't have that.
So yeah, on the aerials, we're not showing any water and those are spring aerials. So if there is usually standing water, usually it's visible on our aerial models.
Is it basically sandy around there or sandy
Pretty
alone?
much, yeah.
Probably says in here, is there a septic system there?
Yes, we put a 2-bedroom septic, well. To have that. Get what we built.
I think that was put in before the last CUP. or
Just
hearings.
before the last. Yeah.
The reason for the original CUP is because it was 1,000 feet of water.
Yep.
Which isn't by the trailer, or by the camper.
Right. And then the town adopted zoning anyway up there.
Are there any other comments? or Questions?
It's a nice looking house. I would imagine your neighbors will appreciate.
So
If not, I'll open the public hearing. Are there any public comments?
If you say no.
Got any calling? I'll close the public hearing then.
There's just 2 of them that I have, potential conditions. Only 1 camper allowed on the parcel, follow all local, county, state, federal. That's it.
Somebody wish to make a motion?
Sure, I'd like to make a motion to approve conditional use permit. Cup 2307. Woodward. With the 2 conditions, only 1 camper allowed on the parcel and then they follow all local, county, state and federal requirements for the activity.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Mr. Blumberg, second by Mr. Payne. Mr. Schmidt. Yes. Mr. Blumberg.
Yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Payne.
Yes.
Mr. Conrad.
Yes.
Mr. Ripley, yes. Conditional use permit 2307 has been approved. Thank you very much for waiting.
Thank you. Guys have a great day.
Next, review and approve the final plat, Maple Terrace.
So you already saw the preliminary plat of this 3 months ago, I think. I can't remember when. So this is a formal process now to get the final plat approved.
This is what the final plat looks like. I think you have copies in your tablets. I didn't bring any other paper along today. And as you can see, we did basically the north half of it, like we talked, but the road will be built on the whole entire portion. So the road areas will be done. And we're actually gonna be meeting engineers this afternoon on the stormwater erosion control plan that will be required for the road and so forth too, so. And the town of Meehan did approve this at their last meeting also. We look for it to be approved. We'll have to have reproduction done. Jason's done the technical review, and then I think I'll have to have Jim sign this. A lot of all the signatures changed from the month we started till now, because you have a new treasurer, you have a new town chairman, and a couple other things all changed, so. I don't know if I signed those before, Jim, but that's what.
No further discussion. I'll make a motion to approve the plan as submitted.
That's by Mr. Conroy.
Second.
Mr. Shinsky.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Roll call vote, Mr. Shinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Blomberg.
Yeah.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Payton.
Yes.
Mr. Conroy.
Yes.
Mr. Bickler, yes.
We're gonna get it approved before he signed it.
Final plat, Maple Terrace has been approved.
At a committee meeting or.
No problem.
He won't even be signing that one. That's not the official.
And get his pen out, ready to go.
Yep.
We'll take a signature anytime, so.
You see how quick I was now, really?
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Next, review various proposed changes to chapter 30. New use ordinance.
All right, so these are some draft changes. These are mainly related to the livestock committee from a couple of years ago. I think that was,
I think we had this on the verge of taking it to county board.
yeah.
We pulled it back because concerns raised by the Department of Agriculture, whether the limiting animal units in the zoning districts was okay.
Mhm.
They wouldn't say we couldn't, but they, after further discussion with our counsel, he said he's even more convinced than he ever was that the plain language of the law will allow us to do this. I gotta say that though, just so you know, as always, everything like this is potentially subject to challenge. But we don't think so. We don't think that it would be, and we don't think we would lose if it was. One other thing, and I don't forget where it is at the moment. Can we put language in here about offset or setbacks for the potential odor offset ordinance we were contemplating? And that's not advised at this time because of the difficulty to validate those setbacks. So we're gonna have to clean that up, that phrase. But everything else, as I read through here, I didn't see any issue. Notice we're deleting entirely the A1 ag transition district, which only exists in not even a whole section of land in the entire county in the town of Rusk. And we will have to rezone those parcels, either A2, A4, or A when we do this, because they can't not be zoned.
Unzoned, yeah.
Do we have to go through town for those changes?
Well, what we would notice it as a public hearing and the town would get notified and all that stuff. But we would, I'm guessing we would not charge the owner for it. We would sponsor the,
That's right. We make those changes.
we're
so
changing it. Yep.
we would want to contact them and say, we really don't know why you zoned this, because there's no incorporated village anywhere near you that might come out and consume your ag land.
Yeah.
So let's make you, either if they want to be A, they can be A, but if they would preferably A4 or A2 in Rusk.
Notify each individual or no?
I would notify both the property owner and the township. What I would do is I would probably send a letter to the owner first, asking them, hey, which district do you think you want to go to? To get their input.
Choice.
Well, they have a couple, I mean, they could come in and say RR3, I guess, or something if they wanted to, but, would that make sense? But,
Where these are located, there are areas that I think are still active,
yeah,
engaged in ag, so
Yeah.
they'll want to stay that.
yeah,
There's some of these other changes, we used to say conditional uses with just a bunch of things in the paragraph, and we enumerated them to match up with the A district, actually, in some ways, and then where you'll take note in here somewhere, I can find it. They'll say feedlots and buildings housing up to 250 animal units are permitted as a condition, they're permitted use. 250 or more, up to 500 requires a conditional use permit, which is a little bit of a modification of what we did. And then we don't allow in these districts other than A, more than 500 animal units. And that is the source of the notion of leaving A alone and allowing more than 500 animal units. And you hear people refer to that as a sacrifice zone. That's what they're talking about, and the whole county is a sacrifice zone based on that standard right now. So what we're doing is that we are not allowed under the state law to limit animal units in every agricultural zoning district. We have to leave one open to expansion above 500 animal units. So that's why that's like that.
And so clarify that, which classification are we leaving open to that?
A,
A.
the exclusive A.
Excellent, okay.
And again, we have 30,000 acres of exclusive ag in the county. We have 130,000 acres of everything else. So we're leaving a fairly good chunk of the county open. But if some areas of some towns want to rezone from A to something else, they can. And in the town of Roosevelt, which does not have any A, it's A2. A large dairy farm there may need to rezone to A to accommodate an expansion above 1,000 animal units, which they may have. They're at about 999 plus a calf right now.
So yeah, right now you got Dewey is almost entirely zoned exclusive ag.
Right.
So that's a really heavy township that has a lot of.
And Dewey has no issue with remaining zoned that way.
No.
And I think Roosevelt, nobody, I asked Dwayne, really, why are they A2? Why did they not go to A? And nobody seems to really know. It's been that way since 1972. If you look at some of those lands and look at changing those would be something we would do also. We wouldn't require them to apply. Because the county is manipulating our ag districts to the benefit of the county, we would change those with the town and landowners' participation.
Any other comments?
So basically, this is your first kick at it. It's not a public hearing today. Do you want to have this for a public hearing in July? It would be the only thing on the agenda.
I think we might have to, at the pace of the livestock sighting law, if they would go more or less together.
Yep.
I think we may have to do that, and I think that's not a bad thing. This may generate more attendance than you think. So it might be a pretty lengthy public hearing on just one thing.
We'd have a lot of people in the county on the 4th of July. If we were.
Well, the meeting will be July 11th will be the meeting.
Well, that would be helpful. You remember the last time we talked about ag and zoning, we had standing room only in the moratorium. public hearing.
If there were some signs that were even
I
carried.
think a band playing outside.
Is there,
That's true.
when Channel
Making
5
this up.
Channel 5 was here?
Yes, there's a reasonable expectation of a lot of people wanting to talk about it. I don't know that, but I wouldn't be surprised, let's put it that way.
So we'll have it then for a public hearing. I'll clean up that few little language there about the odor offsets if it's in here.
Talk with Sean and maybe Larry about, should we say that should the county adopt an odor offset ordinance in the future, the dimensions may change? Could leave it like an open-ended thing, I don't know.
I don't even know if we need to reference it though, really. I mean, if
Somewhere,
it's in the other citing or operations,
it's not though.
but it will be though, maybe, right?
Well, it's not in the immediate future.
Yeah.
So it could be in the future. We should just, all we should do is make sure they're consistent language.
Mhm.
If we mention it in citing, we should mention it. If we don't, we should not imply that we have it.
Mhm. Yep.
I was trying to figure out how to wordsmith it, but I didn't come up with it. See?
All right, so we'll have that then for a public hearing on July 11th.
I have a question. I'm sure that you guys know the answer to this, but I have no clue. Under section 3118, conditional use permits, it says the following are the uses authorized with a conditional use permit in the A exclusive agricultural district, and then it says single family dwelling, and then canneries and cheese factories. I understand those, creameries, commercial feedlots. And then it mentions condensaries, and I don't know what that means.
No idea.
What's a condensery?
Probably old language.
Old language for condensed milk, probably, I don't know. It was
Google it
in,
right now, I guess.
here's the thing, the A district is different than the other districts. You know, in its language, it was updated more recently. And we just kept it, you know, we didn't change it. And there's another, also it says all of the uses permitted in A district are permitted agricultural uses. Then we put except for more than 500 animal populations, keeping the format the same way as it was. You know, we could have tried to rewrite the whole thing, but we'd had to rewrite all of them. So we stayed with the basic format we had. And 2 years ago, wasn't it, Jason, when last we worked on this, to be honest? So we gotta kind of dust off our memories, but for the most part, we were looking to be able to limit animal units in everything except A. And then try to get rid of A1, which was no longer relevant. And then modernize the language. So it was formatted the same way as A. That's why it still says that. I'm assuming that's what that meant, but I don't really know.
Somebody in the Department of Agriculture could explain anyway, I suppose.
Well, there's.
It's almost like dehydrated milk or something is almost what it sounds like.
There used to be, you know, condensed milk in a can. I
Mhm.
can remember seeing that.
They still have it.
They still have it.
So I think that might be that, you know, like a similar to a dairy, but not. It was just condensed, I don't know.
It's like a another milk operation essentially. Instead of a cheese factory, it'd be a condensery factory where
Where they make condensed
make condensed milk.
or
I guess.
evaporated milk.
Yeah.
If you go back and ever read that Pete, Ed Pete's brochure of Burnett County, that's on the historical site, talk about Burnett County's butteries. You know, they were making in 1903, obviously, there wasn't a lot of refrigeration, but they were making butter and shipping it to like New York State from here, which is kind of fascinating. But milk itself couldn't travel very far. So this may have something to do with that too.
I lost where it was. Somewhere in here it referred to manufactured homes and campgrounds.
It refers to, there's I think Jason in the A2, there's an amendment.
Oh,
If they're
yep,
correct, bring it
campground and
current.
stuff, yep.
Right, because
And-
otherwise it'd be our
Yes.
RC.
And the other thing is that You want to correct that. And then the other thing is that we talked, there was a lot of provision for manufactured or mobile homes for life, workers. And the question I raised, or that we see a question mark in there, is should that be modified to say a manufactured home community could be approved by conditional use for workers? But now, without needing dairymen as much as they do with the cows in charge of getting milk on their own, probably is almost redundant anymore to have it. But I don't know if we should delete it entirely, or let's chat about that before we fix it.
Yeah, well, and we'll have the public hearing too, so we'll have some language and then we'll
Right.
can always modify it or at that point too, but.
I think a lot of this was at state models, but a lot of it is so old. They used to have a lot of dairymen and other people on dairy farms, but kind of gone away from that now with do-it-yourself milking by the cows.
Yeah, I think it was section 30-173. So manufactured home parks and campgrounds subject to the revisions. And then it has in parentheses, maybe subject to amendment, because
I'm gonna find it. My
Oh.
machine turned itself off.
I know it, yeah, I tried to reset mine, it does it pretty quick. Page 146 or 147 of the. packet.
Yeah, I see it right there. Yeah. I'll circle that.
Bottom of 146, top of 147.
I made him a note to look at it, so.
Actually, that number 11 in there is one of those things we might want to look at in general. Of that we're the ones who decide whether those could be heard as a similar enough use. But it kind of falls onto Jason to make the decision whether to put them on the agenda or not. We dealt with that in the past. Might be something we want to develop a protocol to do so that we decide to put it on before we hear it. So we don't say, well, no, we can't do that. A2 would really be the one that we're making the most changes to, because it's the most acres of any zoning district in the county is A2. And it's actually A2 is not even farmland preservation proper that's why we have the overlay district for it, because it's overly generous and non-agricultural stuff. But it's the nature of us here. We aren't Kiwanee County, so we're not gonna be emphasizing that.
Suppose I should open those here. So in my, let's see, reports, budget reports in there. Website statistic, there's no staff reports this month. I was slacking and didn't send them an email. I send them an email every month saying, hey, get me your staff reports by this date. And when I remembered, like 2 of them were on vacation and I'm just like, all right, we're just not gonna do those this month.
I was gonna say they were so busy, they didn't have time.
That is, zoning was very busy last month.
I'm sure that's true too.
Yeah, so.
I appreciate not getting that.
Yes. So you see the budget report is in there, nothing out of the ordinary. Still a little bit down on revenue wise compared to last year, but still doing just fine. Really no expenses that are out of line. Website statistics, again, you got about that 275 or so users per day on the weekdays, about 100 or so on the weekends. This time I put in there what browser they're using. Permit statistics are in there. 33 new dwellings so far this year.
That down a little bit from last year at this time.
I could look real quick at my last year's report. 1 second here. Of course, last year we must not have had a meeting in June because I don't have a report. But last year for July, we were at 52 new dwellings. So, I mean, that's still a month later than this year, but yeah. Permits are down just a little bit. Not by any means are we slow or anything like that, because during the COVID years, they were crazy.
No doubt that some of the effect on pricing and whatnot carrying over.
Yep.
That slows things a little bit, but.
Interest
some of the
rates
people
too.
Last year were jumping in with fixed prices that they had to
Yep.
execute, so probably makes a few difference of a few.
Yeah.
Short-term rentals, that's kind of impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, we're probably looking at them a little bit more since they seem to be kind of a hot topic. It's not like we're out there on, Airbnb searching for them, but if people, I think more people are maybe telling us about them too. So we're trying to be a little bit, plus every year, that we find a few, then they know they got to renew it the following year. So slowly but surely, we keep making them aware of that they need county and state permits.
So study on with the towns.
We're, right now, we have a draft that we're letting council look at to make sure that it's okay. That the ordinances for short-term rentals and room tax per se will be going out to all the townships. And they're also looking at forming a commission of the townships so that we have a body that for enforcement type of thing. So things are we're getting real close, and there's a lot of townships that are on board and want to get a room tax settled in, but they're waiting for us to give them an ordinance that they can look at and bring before their town board. And I think once one township signs on, it'll just be a bang effect going through. And they're in the hands of the lawyer right now. Hopefully within the next week or two will be moving along.
Next, discuss the subcommittee dates for reviewing the 2024 budgets.
I guess this is something Wanda added to the agenda, must be a month.
Yeah, I added it to every agenda this month so that everyone could make sure and set when you're actually gonna deal with your committee
We always do it,
budgets.
always the meeting in August, that's how we've always done it.
Okay,
It's
so
always that
then I
first.
can give a list and
Yeah.
all the members and everybody is gonna be able to know exactly, because sometimes it fluctuates depending on
Yeah.
the office. Or the
Our
department.
committee meeting meets early enough in the month that
That
we can
you're-
always do it in
And they
August.
did allow a little more time, so that'll be good. So you'll be so if you look at the calendar for August. So your meeting should be on you're August 1st.
Cool.
So you guys will be ready for that?
August 1st.
We're always ready. I'll have my budget figured out a couple days before the meeting. I always do every year.
Perfect. So August 1st will just the budget
Yeah.
meeting for here. Okay, great. Put that in there then. It was a helpful thing on all the agendas to be discussed so that all the players would know for sure what all the departments are doing.
So our budget's pretty simple, we're not spending a lot of money and, the only stuff we typically buy is, computers and trucks every once in a great while, so.
And we also pretty significant source of revenue.
Yeah.
Are we gonna have to budget for short-term rentals?
Nope, all that short-term rental stuff is all part of the tourism commission and all they're running.
And in order for the towns to be able to collect that room tax, they have to enforce it. We
Yep.
don't have standing to We can't collect the new tax.
The only thing county gets is the added sales tax.
Okay.
It does give the town a little bit of money for, and then it also, if they get the inventory, so to speak, don't know how many they have in the town. And that's the playing field level the same for probably, hotels, motels, anybody else who's collecting room tax now and people are getting around it.
Now, the commission is gonna give us their list, and likewise, I've already given them our list of ones we have, so. We're gonna try to coordinate, that way,
Sure.
but yeah, they're gonna take on the tour or the room tax stuff
And
on
they,
their end.
but they're the ones that, we have always had trouble catching them and finding them. And just will theoretically find them and twist their arms to be.
That's why we've been listed to help the local.
So the July meeting will be at 9 AM on the 11th.
Yep, July meeting is July 11th, assuming we don't wanna meet on July 4th, since the building's closed and nobody will be around, so.
Yeah, then we won't conflict with the siren parade
Yeah.
or the Webster parade.
For that matter, yeah.
Dragged on that long.
So on the July 11th, we'll just have the egg stuff will be the only public hearing. Then August, we have quite a few.
Talked a little bit about, the Natural Resources Committee is gonna review in a couple of days the final version of the signing ordinance. And I suggested that too should probably go on a separate public hearing on a regular NRC meeting. Because it could again draw people in time. And interfere with the meeting otherness.
And I know we wanna run them both on county board at the same time. So we're not having two separate county board meetings, cause we'll probably maybe have quite a crowd
Could have
at
that,
those
yeah.
ones. Yeah.
So I think the whole idea is to try to coordinate as much as possible to get those things done without encumbering a whole different meeting with. And we may be lucky and it won't be any fuss and bother, but how do you know, right?
Future agenda items.
July 11th will be that egg thing. August, we'll have a bunch of different public hearings and budgets and. That's about it.
We have a new request for CUPs and zone changes.
Oh, there's a few in my basket for August.
Motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
Don't run off yet. I gotta get you guys to sign the resolutions for
All in
the.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Quick after meeting comment, you can change your settings so that your screens don't go away
Right,
after 2 minutes.
right.
So we'll work on that.
Who seconded the German?
I will.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Just pick one.
Does anybody want more copy?
No.
What were you talking about?
Jim?
No.